So also this year, Balsam Range is 10 years old.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think about that number applied to your band and also just that segment of time in your career?
It's been incredible 10 years. I don't think any of us in Balsam Range would have said when the first year we played that we'd still be together 10 years, because historically...
And everybody, it's still the same band.
Yeah,
that's a testament in itself.
Yeah, nobody would ever, first year, would ever said, yeah, we'll still be, all five still be together for 10 years, because that just doesn't happen in bands in general, particularly bluegrass. It seems like every year there's a trading camp, they're switching teams up. IBMA is a season trading season, but so for a band to be the five original guys 10 years later, and to get to do the things we've got to do in 10 years is unheard of, really.
Well, I think a lot of it, at least from my perspective, of not only the fact that it's still the same guys and the decisions that are made within this band, I think a lot of it comes from the fact that everyone involved had a previous career. Like, not to make the same mistakes. That you knew what the balance was, that to keep it going between family and work.
Well, yeah, and I think that what really helped us is, all of us living in the same area. We had that going for us to begin with, but we all had similar needs and wants and desires, and all of us had young family, kids in school. That created a need. Family had a need, so your families are in support of it. Or behind the scenes, the individual families are just as important in a band as the band itself, because they got to want it too and be supportive of it. So all of our families have been incredibly supportive of it, and the kids have grown up together. All our kids know each other, grown up together. We saw several of them born during this 10-year period, and now they're up playing sports. It's just been really a family thing, and throughout the county, it's the sport we've had throughout the county. It's very much a unique thing for this band that over most bands where they're spread out from different areas.
How do you? I guess what I'm saying is the band's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. How do you approach that now? I mean, because there's going to be, I know the kids are getting older and some are going to college and all that, but there's coming a point now where you guys can literally do whatever you want.
It's every year brings new challenges. As it does grow, we're tend to be going farther and farther away. We're going more. We have opportunities. We have to make wise decisions, and in what we do, and a lot of that comes from, I'm a firm believer in surrounding yourself with great people. And so a lot of that is having some management to help with some of that, having some people that's their job is to look out for your best interest. And so we've got some incredible team right now. We've expanded Balsam Range from 5 guys into John Holder is our sound guy, and he does an incredible job with sound, and so we don't have to worry about sound. That's his job, and he's phenomenal at it. And so that took us to another level in itself. We took on there's a girl named Mandy Tenry who does a lot of our road management stuff and coordinating things and just working with festivals to help promote them and getting things organized. And that makes us not only go smoothly, we come across as more professional to the places. And then we have Mike Drudge, who is our booking guy, who is now transitioned into he's part of a national company called Rainmaker Management. Rainmaker manages Del McCurry and Sierra Hull and Hot Rise, and they also do stuff outside of bluegrass yonder. They're a really big company, and they were interested in being a part with Balsam Range, being part of their team. So,
and I feel like you guys have never been afraid to look over the fence either.
No, and I hope we never do.
In terms of the limitations, quote-unquote limitations of bluegrass. Yeah,
that's been a big thing for us. I've always felt like there's some bluegrass. I love bluegrass music, but a lot of every time there's not a week or so goes by that we don't hear somebody that says, I never thought I liked bluegrass music. I love you guys.
Yeah.
Well, that tells me that there's a perception of what bluegrass is. It's not always reality to some people. They don't. If we can get it to the people, that's the whole reason, like the Art of Music Festival. We call it the Art of Music Festival, so that it's a broader subject matter. It can encompass as many things, because a lot of people think they don't like bluegrass and they find out they love it.
Well,
it's
you got
real.
You got the core that I think the core that's traditional bluegrass will never change. There's always going to be that core,
Right.
but it's the fringe bands that have blurred the lines, like Steve Kane Rangers, you guys, Infamous String Dusters, where you become kind of portals to the core.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Well, I think that's been the case from day one, and a lot of traditionalists don't want to accept it, but it's always been the case. I mean, Bill Monroe was doing something different.
yeah,
He's the father of bluegrass music, but he was doing something nobody else was doing. He was intentionally coming up with his own music. The Osborne brothers were always pushing the limits, because they wanted their own identity.
well, he was a rebel. Bill was a rebel. People
Bill was a
forget
rebel.
that.
Yeah. I mean, and if you look all the way back from the beginning to now, there's always been the bands that have always pushed the limits have been the bands that have also helped music grow.
Yeah.
Because they have reached people that were maybe on the fence of liking it or not, but they had something a little different, enticed them, and that seldom scene was always pushing the limits.
Well, look at like with Sam Bush, they thought that might be the end of bluegrass when those guys showed up, and now he's become like an elder statesman of bluegrass, which is kind of funny.
And I think music in general is supposed to always grow. I mean, if it was always the same, no matter what genre it is, it's always changing, it's always evolving, and whether it be country, rock, bluegrass, it's always moving, it's always changing, and it's supposed to be that way. If it's not, then it gets sterile.
Yeah.
And it's not exciting. It's every year there's some new thing that comes out that excites people, and that helps music as a whole grow. And that's part of our responsibility of bluegrass is to help it grow. And so we try not to be.
Well, you're aware of the rules, but at the same time,
we love the traditions, and if you go to a Balsam Range show, you will hear the traditional element in our show. You will hear a contemporary element. You'll hear a gospel element, a country element, a jazz element. All those things factor into who Balsam Range is, and I think that gives us a uniqueness. But it also keeps us true to the tradition, but yet pushing the limits at times, and just the types of songs you do. If you do the same thing you've always done, you're going to get the same results.
So the band has quite literally won every award at the IBMAs, and now you're becoming like perennial favorites in the award categories. What are your thoughts on that, and also how do you measure success after achieving those goals?
Well, as far as the awards go, it's just still. It's funny to sit there, particularly to walk up on the stage of IBMAs when I can remember going to the IBMA Awards before I ever played music. I was trying to learn how to play the fiddle, went to the IBMA Awards show, and just thinking, man, could you imagine what it'd be like to be on that stage? And then, some 15 years later or so, I'm on that stage, and it tells me that anything's possible. You got to believe, and you got to push, and you got to have goals. You got to set goals, and to achieve goals, you got to first have goals, and so that's part of it. And so as far as after awards, you reestablish more goals, and we always try to sit down every year and say, what do we want to achieve this year? What do we want to do? Is it this year, for example, we went to Europe, and that was one of our goals, is to grow. It's like, let's do something different. Let's win over some new fans. Let's meet some new people. And we went to Czech Republic and Switzerland and Germany, and
And they eat that stuff up.
Oh, they loved it. It's amazing how much that area of the country, of the world, loves classic American music.
Yeah.
They love bluegrass. They love classic American country music. They know all the artists, all the songs. We got to play with a group from Czech Republic called Monogram. I met them. They found out we were coming. They started corresponding with me on the internet through email, and we got to jam with them. We had a party one night over there, a cookout somebody arranged, and man, they knew every song. They knew more songs than we knew, and that's one of the things that I really hope to do with our music festival. Is I would love to bring a band like that to Haywood County, because the world needs to see some of those bands, and they're incredible musicians, and how much they love what we have. They love American music. They love bluegrass, and I love for the people to see how much enthusiasm they have for what we have.
Well, with what you're doing too, I find myself telling people sometimes, it's like when you get to the top of the mountain, you start seeing other mountains.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's always something else out there. You know, when you think you've reached the top, you really are just halfway there. There's always something greater. There's always somebody better than you, and there's always something greater to do. And I think that in itself is the motivating factor that pushes you to do more, to be better. You know, no matter what you're doing. You know, if you're running, there's always somebody faster. There's always more in you than you've given, and the push is to see, can you get it out of yourself. And so that's kind of part of our process is evaluating. And you know, our needs change every year. We have to reevaluate our needs, and you know, with family and other things going on. So what can we do to get the most out of this year and be the most productive that we can be as a band this year? And this takes communication. It takes a lot of thought going into it and planning. But we've done so far. You know, 10 years we've managed to pull it off. So we're